Hello and welcome to SGN Tech Forum. In this video, I'm going to get you started with Oracle Cloud. Oracle Cloud is a new entrant in the cloud, in the public cloud world after Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. But what is unique with Oracle Cloud is they're always free tier. I want you to get started with cloud and stay with it as long as you want to learn, right? And other cloud provider, mostly their free tier expire in 1 year, and that means you have to upgrade or you can shut down the account, right? But in Oracle, you have this flexibility that you get minimum component, which is going to always free throughout the cloud lifestyle. So let's get started. The first thing we'll talk about traits of cloud, high level design of Oracle Cloud, and then when we jump into demo, within demo I'm going to talk about identity access management, and then we'll spin up a couple of instances, public instance, private instance, and I'll show you how they can talk to each other outside world, and then we'll dwell into the storage part of it, like attach some block storage and object storage, which is equivalent to S3. So high level design of OCI, Oracle Cloud, is region based. So you have a region is like a major geographical area, and within geographical area you have availability domain there. So every region has 3 ADs, and each AD is like a physical location or a physical data center. Within each availability domain you have 3 fault domains, and think about it as a logical data center. So they are totally separated in terms of cooling and power. That means they are fault isolated. So each AD have 3 FDs. Now let's talk about our demo design. So we'll spin up our virtual VCN in a region, and then we'll spin up a couple of VMs in a availability domain. One public, of course public will have outside connectivity using internet gateway, then a private subnet VM, and finally I'm going to create a block storage and attach it to the VM. So all these things you're going to see in action in the upcoming video. So, and I'll talk about like security in the cloud as well. So let's talk what is the different traits of cloud. So this is the white paper. I highly recommend that you go through this white paper, Computer Security Resource Center, CSRC. This is available as 800/145. Let's click on this, and this white paper talks about cloud in general. What are the generic traits of cloud? It's not a particular provider specific, but what are the essential characteristics of cloud? What are the different service model available? What are what kind of so essential characteristic: on-demand self-service, prima facie for customer, right? They want to go and spin up their storage, compute as they want. Then broad network services, so you can access it using thin client, thick client, mobile device, all those things. Resource pooling, very important thing is like all the resources in cloud, they are pooled, but yet it's a multi-tenant environment, but all the tenant get enough security, the right level of security. And then rapid elasticity, that means you can scale up, scale down, scale in, scale out based on your requirement. That make it a very pay as you go kind of environment, right? And then the measured service. So all the cloud providers, they provide SLA services like 4959, so that you know that how stable your application gonna be based on the SLAs. And then service model, SaaS, which is like Office 365. So you are consuming an application as a service. Then you have the platform as a service, highest level of service. That means everything is managed by cloud provider. Mostly you have consumer has very little thing to maintain. And then the last but not least, the most popular one, infrastructure as a service, and this is mostly the enterprise start where, so they have their data center but they want a cloud presence, and that's where they start creating their footprint in cloud and attach the connect to their cloud to their on-prem environment. So infrastructure as a service, that's mostly you are going to get network storage and processing power, all those things. Then deployment model, obviously private cloud. A big enterprise can build a private cloud on-prem. Then community cloud, a lot of community colleges, universities, they come together and make a community cloud. Then public cloud like OCI, of course, AWS. And then hybrid cloud, as I talked, like a big enterprise, they have on-prem and cloud presence, and they connect them together, which make it hybrid cloud. So this is a very nice white paper. Please read this. Now let's go and talk about Oracle free tier. So if you Google Oracle free tier, this is where you come and you can see start for free and you sign up for Oracle Cloud. Once you sign up, you're gonna get two things instantaneously. One is 30-day free trial where you get $300 of free credit, but this is going to expire in 30 days irrespective of whether you use it or no. What stays is new always free. That means you get minimum set of configuration which is going to stay always free throughout their life cycle, and that's what a new always free tier we are going to see in this demo. So what comes with always free resources? You need to know that, right? So that you can spin up the right thing. Here you can see you are going to get 2 compute instances, obviously a certain configuration, 2 autonomous DB, 1 load balancer, blocks to volume of 100 GB, object storage of 20 GB, and vault for key management. So these are the basic things you are going to get. Once you sign up, you will be coming to this page and you can log in using your username and password, and this is the OCI dashboard will be presented there, right? So some quick access tab, that means you can click on these and then quickly get started with those things. You can always explore. But what we are interested in, this hamburger menu button. So, and here it's all the OCI services are listed here, like data AI, solution platform, more Oracle Cloud services, governance and administration. Everything is listed here. So let's look at the cost analysis, because the cost is a key, right? If you are a cloud user, you need to know what you're using and how they are charging you. So here you can create your report, cost and users report, but we are using always free, so let's not worry about that. Then let's talk identity access management. Within identity, you have 3 objects: user, group, and policies. So when you create your account, you get one user by default, but just creating a user will do nothing unless you tie it up with a group. And here you see that administrator group comes by default, and here my user is already assigned to that. Once you have user aligned to a group, what you do next is you align policy, you define policy for that group. So 2 policies you get by default. One is infrastructure as a service, which is tenant admin policy. Here you can see I'm saying allow group administrator. So allow my group of administrator to manage. Manage is like here in OCI is all permission, and I'm going to say all resources within tenancy. So it's a tenancy based approach, and administrator can, what I'm saying is administrator can manage everything, all my resources in this tenancy. That is like a super admin role. But you can go ahead and add more edit policy statement and create a user, create a group, and give them a less privilege or a different kind of privilege. Okay, let's talk about one very important concept which is kind of like unique to Oracle Cloud, which is called resource manager. So resource manager, here it's a script available so that it help you to get started real quick. Instead of like point and click, you can use script. So you can see that Oracle Resource Manager give you a sample application, and whatever what this script is going to do, this script is going to spin up some resources which qualify as a always free category. Very tempting. You would like to use it. I also tried it, but unfortunately right now the script is broken. That means it failed, and it doesn't fail atomic. That means it failed, but it keep some object already created, so you have to go back and clean it up. So give it a pass for now. Let's you create something which we understand, right? So before that's why we are going to do everything on our own here. Let's understand one important concept called compartment. So compartment in OCI is like a grouping of logical grouping. So by default you get a root compartment. Within root compartment you can create multiple compartment and nest them together. It's like a one organization and then department under them, and you can have policies applied to each and every compartment. So but the policies has the inheritance logic also. So just be aware of that. We are not going to create any new compartment. I'm just going to stick to the root compartment because I have no department or hierarchy requirement here. But this is very important, and unique to Oracle Cloud. All right. So now let's get started with the demo. And the first thing what you want to do is create a VCN, which is equivalent to layer 3 VRF. I already have a VCN created, but I'm going to create a VCN just for the demo purpose. Demo purpose of the this demo. So I'm going to name it appropriately like SDN Tech demo. That's my VCN. You give a CIDR. So SuperNet, which is available for this VCN. So you can see that I'm using /16, but when I go actually at the subnet level, I can be more granular or more specific. So just let's create a demo with a name and a CIDR block. And click create VCN. You see the VCN is created and you are in the VCN. You can see your CIDR block, you can see your compartment and a default route table. By default, you get a few things like a route table and a security list. All these things comes by default. Now let's create a subnet. I want to create a public and private subnet. So my web VM is a public facing resource. I'm going to subnet type as a regional. So this subnet will be available within the region. That means all across 3 availability domain. But you can, if you want, you can contain it within one availability domain. But I would like to make it regional specific. And then provide a CIDR. Now this time you can go more granular. Like I want my public facing resources all to be in 10.0.1/24 and default route table, security list. These things you can stick to default, or you can create your subnet without using these values, and you can always go back and change it. So and tag, you can tag your resources. So let's say this is compute. I'm going to say web. So name, subnet type region, CIDR block, route type. I'm going to use default route type, and this has to be a public subnet. That means a public IP should be assigned. And security list. I'll talk about security list. What is that? So let's create so my first subnet is created. Now let's create another subnet, private subnet, where I'm going to spin up DVVM or private VM. Name it like a DBVM. Again, keep it regional specific. CIDR block, let's use a different CIDR block. Obviously, it's a different subnet, 10.0.2.0/24. Again, route subnet access, I want to make it private, no public IP address required. And then route table and security list, all these things you can use, or you can just leave it blank and you can always go back and change it. Okay, so we are not going to use any security list or anything. Okay, create subnet, and a subnet is created. So now let's see the default route table, right? The things comes default security list. Let's check security list. Security list is your first level of defense in the cloud, right? So that means ingress, egress, anything coming to the cloud is denied, and anything going out of the cloud is allowed. And then the route table right now is empty. We will populate the route table as we require them. So let's create an instance. Now you can see I already have 2 instances running, which are always free, and I'm going to create another third instance. Obviously I want them in a always free tier. So you change your image. These are the images available, and always free resources always have this tag, which is very good thing. So it tell you that this is always free. I'm going to use Oracle image, and then AD. So always free resources are not available in all the ADs. You need to be aware of that. This is the information you only learn as you use them, like little tribal knowledge. So as you can see, within AD1, my always free VM is grayed out. I cannot choose it, basically. So you can see I can get 2 compute instances, but not any compute instance, a certain configuration, right? And that configuration is what is this is the what VM standard E2 1 micro, 1 vCPU, 1 gig of memory, and some certain throughput, but it is not available in all AD. Only in AD3, when I go virtual machine, always free, specialty and legacy, there I have this VM available. I'm going to select that image. Network bandwidth, you can see half a Gbps and one NIC. So this is what you get as a always free, but it is good enough in my opinion. Okay, now what you're going to do is you align it to your VCN. You align it with the subnet, which subnet you want. Okay, a VM web regional subnet, and I'm going to say, since this is a public subnet, the assign IP public IP is already selected. And you can do multiple things like in a boot volume and all. I'm going to keep it simple. Linux based service instance, since it is Linux based, it doesn't use password in OCI. It has to be like a key SSH key pair trust. So I'm going to paste SSH key, public key of my PC from where I'm going to access this resource. I'm going to paste that SSH key info while creating the VM here. So how you're going to find that? It is in your hidden directory, SSH directory. So if you have generated your RSA key pair, you will have a private key and a public key. Private key always stay with you, but public key you can freely distribute, and that's what we are going to do. CD going to SSH directory, and you see cat idrsa.pub. This is my public key. I'm going to copy this and paste this information back to my VM, so that when I access this VM, that VM know that this is the key I am trusting. Okay, you can add multiple keys. Right now we don't want to create multiple keys, just one key, because this is my environment. And you see that you cannot create a VM because you have reached the limit. Obviously they give you two always free VMs only, and I already have them created. That's why I cannot create a third one. I did that purposely, just to let you know that you cannot scale beyond always free until you upgrade your account, and that is the key thing. Unlike other service provider, you can always exceed your free tier resources. They do not restrict you. You only come to know by some sort of accounting and costing. Here it tell you that okay, you cannot exceed because you have not hit the upgrade button. I really like this feature. This is kind of safety net. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to terminate one instance. Actually, I'm going to terminate both, but one by one. I'm going to terminate one instance, and let's create a web VM. Now, since I terminated that, this should go through. So my web VM is created, and you can see private IP address is still loading. It is created with a fault domain 2, obviously in AD3. That's where this instance is available. This is all the details regarding your web VM. Okay, general information, primary VNIC, instance detail, all those things. So let's while this is coming up, let's look at the region concept. So right now I'm in US East region. That means I can spin up resources within this region because it shows subscribed status. If I subscribe to other region, then only those regions resources will be available to me, and I can go ahead and create resources in that. But always free is available only in your home region. You cannot go to Australia or India and spin up VM as always free. So for me, home region is US East, and that's where I created this VM. Now the VM is provisioning, but I got the IP address. I should change the state to running pretty soon, and that's where you see what is the shape, what is the where is it is located, availability domain, what is the fault domain, and all those things you can see. So VM spinning, it takes a bit of time. Be patient. It doesn't take like long time, but it can easily take 3 to 5 minutes. Now the status is running, and I got the public IP address. Okay, again a lot of information around the VM or the resource. Username, since it is Oracle, you can see username for Oracle is OPC, and key is obviously your SSH key. For a primary VNIC, so you can see it has got a private IP as well. So all the resource, they get a private IP, irrespective if they're public facing or private facing. And you can see which VCN, what kind of image, and all those information, NIC attachment, paravirtualize, boot volume, what kind of boot volume you have, what is memory, shape configuration, all these things are there. So it has a local disk, which is boot volume of 47 GB. The Linux, it is 47 GB. Okay, so you can, once it is spin up, you can do multiple things, like you can stop it, you can reboot it, and you can do some more actions. So now it has a public IP address available, and we are tempted to use this, right? So if you put it in a browser or you try to ping, what happened? Is it available as it shows running? Can I access it immediately? So the answer is no. Even if the resource is running, it has the IP address assigned, there are some default security things which comes into picture, which actually you need to open up, then only you can access the resources. So let me try to SSH to the machine, obviously using the username OPC at that IP address, and you see what is happening. It's not actually accepting the SSH connection, and it will time out eventually. If I try to ping, what happened? Is it pinging? No, it's not pinging. So what is missing? Let's find out that, right? So let's go to that subnet. Most of the settings are available in the subnet where the VM is. So let's first thing look at the security list. When you spin up a resource, by default, the three ingress rules created. One is allow SSH connection on port 22, and then to ICMP, like for ping, echo and reply. So basically I have SSH connection open and I have ping connection open, and egress rule is allow everything outbound. And we tried both things, right? But it's not working. Then why it's not working? Because route table. So look at the route table. I have a default route table, but there is no entry created to that. So that means this subnet doesn't know how to reach out outside world, right? So from traditional networking perspective, the route is missing. You do have access list open, but the route is missing. And to add the route, we have multiple things you can do in OCI. We are going to create internet gateway. Internet gateway is basically use a managed service from Oracle, which is basically used to provide internet access to your Oracle resources. And this is Oracle managed services. That means you just create it, but you really don't maintain it. You don't know what IP address it has got, and all those things. Okay, so let's create an internet gateway. Once you create the internet gateway, we are going to attach it to your route table, and like it's a next hop. So we are going to create a route rule where I'm saying, okay, next hop is internet gateway, and my destination is all the traffic 000/0. That means everything. And the target, so what I'm going to say is allow everything via internet gateway. This is kind of like my default gateway. Let's create that route rule. So we have security list configured where we are allowing SSH and ICMP, and then I have a route created, default route created to internet gateway. And obviously internet gateway, since it's a managed service, it has outside connectivity. Still my ICMP is not coming, but let's check SSH first. Yes, see, it's connected and it is presenting you with the key, and you say yes, and see no password is being asked, and you land directly in the Oracle VM, because Oracle VM has the key for this. And you can see this is my boot volume, 46 GB of boot volume, and all those things are there. So if config, I can see my private IP address here, public IP address, obviously that's secondary, it's not shown. This is my IP address. So I can log into my VM. Pretty cool, right? Now this VM is available for you, accessible from your machine. You can use it. Now let's do a quick test. So let's install a NGINX service or a HTTP service, so that you can access this VM in the browser. So I'm going to start HTTP it's going to download all the files. Choosing the Oracle VM is like was a choice because it has a lot of things in build, like yum and all those things are already comes as part of package. Yeah. So let me install that. It is going to a repo, pulling out those packages. Once the packages are installed, install size is this. Yeah, I'm going to say yes, and it's installing. So HTTP is installed. Let me enable this simple Linux command. Once it is enabled, I'm going to allow some firewall rules because this is Linux and the firewall rule is allow deny everything. I'm going to say allow TCP port 80, and this firewall rule is in place. Let's reload the firewall just so that the rule can take effect. Sudo firewall cmd reload, and now my HTTP service is available. My security list, you can see I have like a TCP and ICMP allowed. Now I'm going to add another rule which allow TCP port 80, because initially I had only one rule which says TCP port 22, that is SSH. Now I have to, since I enabled HTTP services on the VM, I also have to edit the rule so that the inbound connection to port 80 is available. So that's what I'm doing here. I add another rule to my security list to open a HTTP connection. So you configured that on a VM, then you configured it on a cloud side. Default, so these rules are created, okay, port 80, and now let's see if I can access from my local browser, right? So one thing I noticed that when I installed the service, it was not active actually, so I had to restart HTTP. Make sure you may run into the same issue. So if you see that HTTP is not started, just restart and make sure that service is running on your Oracle VM. Once the Oracle VM service is running and the security list is edited, now you can try to ping. See, the ping is available, ICMP echo and reply is available, and then let's do the browser test at the same time, right? So I am going to go to my browser and say HTTP and then the public IP address, and you see I get this very Apache thing saying that okay, Apache front is available. So this is it. Thank you.